Hi, Elegantes. Hi, good day, good afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of our monthly webinar. And if you're just joining us for the first time, please introduce yourself. We'd like to meet you, engage with you as well. And before we go on, you all know what Elegance Media stands for. So Elegance Media Agency is a digital agency. We help businesses, organizations to make the best use of their online platforms and community, including their community. And as well, we also empower folks to have the same skills that we are using to empower these communities and online platforms, organizations via their online platforms as well. So we help folks who are just starting out in their career or probably just looking for a new job. We help them to prepare for their job. And folks who are already in the job and looking for a way to enhance their skills or even stay visible online, we help them to know how to communicate the value they bring to the online audience and even preparing themselves for a bigger opportunity. So we do not only empower or help organizations, we also help individuals to stay visible, to stay solid. And that is one of the reasons we are talking about this topic in today's webinar. And today we are going to be speaking on how to identify and leverage your transferable power, which is your transferable skills. And with me today, I have one special guest. Okay, so before we go on, I'm Omotola Eunice Omotayo, and I'm the founder of Elegance Media. I am a community programs manager. And thank you so much for joining once again. And I'll be bringing on stage now our audience, our guests. The audience are already there. And if you are watching this video later, don't worry, you're welcome. The replay is always available. You can always ask your questions. You can always tell us more about what you've gained in the session. And we are going to be there to even engage with you after the live session. So that's okay. So let's bring on stage our guest for today, Chiamaka. Hi, Chiamaka. How are you doing?
Motula, I'm fine, thank you. Hello, everyone. How's
Thank,
everyone doing? Hope everyone is fine.
thank you so much for joining us today. Hi, Belastilo. Thank you so much for joining us. Hi, Chiamaka. How are you doing? And how is everything on your end? Are you very hot like me? Because I'm in UK and the weather is something else. I don't even know where to start from, but we can't complain. So, how is it on your end as well?
The heat.
I
That's
know.
that's the best I can say. So I'm in Manchester as well in the UK, and it is so hot. It's 31 degrees, and it feels like I'm fighting for my life because
Oh
why
my,
is it hot? But at the same time, we prayed for the sun, so I can't even complain.
that's it. That's it. We pray for it, but I don't want to say this is not what we prayed for. Okay, so I hope other people can relate to what we are sharing as well. If you can, please share what it looks like or feels like on your own end as well in the comments, and I'm looking forward to engaging with you. Okay, so let's get into today's discussion. Today's discussion is not just us telling our stories, and most importantly, Chiamaka telling our story. We are going to be sharing stories, but also letting you see how we identify what we are this main subject of today, which is transferable skills. We are going to be explaining how we identified and how we leverage it. Chiamaka on her hand as I'm not going to say that from my head. I'm going to allow her to share her own part of it. I think if I say it, I might not say it as solid as she's going to say it by herself. So I'm going to leave that to her. But what I'm trying to say is we both have different experiences on how we have leveraged our transferable skills to get good opportunities. And we want you to be able to do that as well, because we believe that a lot of people have skills that are needed in order to grow their career, in order to excel in their career. So before we go on into the main story and identifying and leveraging, um let's meet Chiamaka. Hi, Chiamaka, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Motola. So I feel like this is a very serious webinar, so I need to put on my serious face.
I love it. I love it. It's welcome.
Thank you. So a quick introduction about myself. My name is Chamaka Ijoma Ibauchi, and I am a Group Global Treasury Analyst. I like to introduce myself as a Treasury Transformation Analyst because the core of my career has been transformation and business optimization. So I have over 6 years experience spanning asset management, consulting, financial transformation, and treasury. And I like to call myself the finance tech babe or the data girl because again, that's where the world is going, isn't it? And I am very passionate about helping people understand their transferable skills, because if there's something that I think has taken me through my career journey, it has been my transferable skills. Like, I actually always say that there is no skill that is irrelevant to the work you want to do or to the work you want to get. And to be fair, tonight is not about anybody's CV. So I would like everybody to first of all drop their CVs and actually get out a pen and paper, because we are about to dig through your CV and your mind through a lens that is very mind blowing, and you will be shocked at how much transferable skills we all have that we don't realize we have.
That's so interesting. You all at Chiabaka, seriously. Aside from the fact that, just like she mentioned, aside from, I think self-awareness is the beginning of you being able to identify your transferable skills. Because trust me, you're also going to like get it as we continue to like share our story. Transferable skills can come from anywhere, and it doesn't have to be from a job itself, like a job so-called itself. I think I'm going to be telling more from that angle. And just like Chiamaka said, this is going to be a very interesting session. You're going to be learning, you're going to be identified. In fact, I want you to be nodding your head by the time like we start sharing, because trust me, it's power packed. So awesome. Let's start with Chiamaka, and I'm going to allow you to like start your story from the very background, especially as it relates to what we are talking about, identifying your transferable power. Pick it from wherever you want to pick it from, but who is Chiamaka in terms of your career? How do you start identifying this power? But again, just like I said, I'm going to allow you to pick it from wherever you want to pick it from.
Okay. So my career has a very funny trajectory. But by the time I tie it together, it makes a lot of sense on why I have the career that I currently have. Because, like I said, I have a career spanning consulting, corporate strategy, asset management, and treasury. And I'm sure everybody's wondering, how does
Why are you
how,
everywhere?
how does that tie together? Like, okay, can I find the correlation? But when we actually see how I have tied my career together, it would start to make sense. So, first of all, I started my career at KPMG Nigeria, where I worked in management consulting. And to be honest, the core of management consulting is really not about the answer, but about the structure. It's about problem solving, it's about breaking things down into very small bits that makes it very relatable and sensible for people to pick up on and also to make decisions on, because the goal of every management consultant is to literally have structure, and that's as basic as it can be. And if there's something that also makes it very easy as a management consultant that I was, it was being a structured person. And it's very funny because even personality sometimes can tie into career paths, and you realize that it's the same way chefs are people that genuinely like to cook, and they turned into becoming chefs, literally. So everything makes sense at the end of the day when you look at it holistically. So after KPMG, I moved to ARM, investment management. At ARM, I did a bit of corporate strategy, and now that makes sense because I had done management consulting. So corporate strategy is pretty much consulting in a different form. And why ARM was very unique to my experience was ARM was a holding company, or is a holding company rather, and it had a lot of subsidiaries. So having to do corporate strategy on that scale is very impressive and is very good for someone that was just starting her career. So for management consulting in KPMG, you are working with clients, so you get to see different kind of scenarios. But when it comes to investment and asset management, the goal is money. The goal is to make decisions that improve money. Now, as someone that has gone through consulting, it's pretty much being able to then tie that skill back into corporate strategy, which is what I did. And after corporate strategy, I then realized that I wanted something bigger, and I moved into investment management where I was a portfolio manager on different side of things. So majorly in Nigeria, I was a portfolio manager at ARM on the US decks and the UK deck. So I was pretty much covering global market. And again, at ARM, it was the same structure. It was just take messy information, find the pattern, where can I invest? How can I make this client's money grow? It is read the stock market, understand it. And again, it's the same thing with consulting, just that this time it is not for clients, it is for money. But again, clients that have money. So it's the same dynamics. And it was understand the financial statements of this company. What stands out to you? Why do you think they will grow in the future? Is it worth investing money in it? Is it not? And do you think this was a right step? That's the same thing a consultant would do if we think about it. And that was when I started to notice that my way of thinking changed. And for me, it wasn't about chasing the career name, it was about chasing structure and roles that aligned with my transferable skills. Because I've said the same thing here. The skill set I needed in consulting is the same skill set I needed in asset management. And I then moved to United Capital. Now, sometimes we focus a lot on seniority, but I like to focus on how I can do things on different skills, either upscaling it or either moving across different segments of things to further broaden my knowledge. So moving to United Capital was saying, oh, I have done the UK and global marketing side of things. I don't know anything about the Nigerian market and I'm working in Nigeria. So what then happens and how do I fill that gap? So moving to United Capital was pretty much I now want to work in the Nigerian market. I want to widen my scope, and that is where scope management in career then starts to play out. What do you know and what don't you know, and what are the gaps that you want to fill in so that it then makes sense to you in the long term? So I did that at United Capital for a while and then went on to do my master's in financial technology. I think that then brought me to the tech world. The reason I wanted to do financial technology for my master's was I already knew I had my leg imprinted in finance. And I knew that the world was evolving. And I said, finance and tech is a very beautiful space to be in.
Very beautiful.
It's such a good place to be in because people actually downplay that financial organizations require tech to run.
Hmm.
And most people focus on software engineering, cloud architecture. But for those in Nigeria, if you're using a banking app, somebody understands the technicalities of that banking app. And the person that understands the technicality of that banking app has banking knowledge. Sometimes they learn it, but again, they have to understand the lingua and the diction of banking to be able to solve a problem. You cannot see a software engineer in a bank and a software engineer in MTN or in telecommunications doing the same thing. They are engineers from different perspectives. They are grounded in their niche, which is where is good and which is where we then need to understand transferable skill. So I went in to do my master's in financial technology and I said I wanted to understand systems. I wanted to understand how to code financial data. I needed to understand how to automate financial data. I needed to know how to understand any finance system. And that was what my master's did and covered. And that was how I then went on to work at Swift, where I currently am. And at Swift, what do I do? It is literally taking financial and treasury data, helping them understand, oh, in this time we have cash. Where do we put it in? How do people read that data for management to make decisions? How do we automate it? And how do we understand the systems that we need to help our contractors? Looking at my career journey, I have just done the same thing multiple times in different angles. But the key is messy data, problem solving, and literally strategy on different skills. And That is a summary of my journey. So next time someone says, oh, I have this career, but I don't think it works in this particular career path that I'm trying to pivot into, take a deep breath and actually think about it, because we need to stop looking at our CV from the lens of the JD and the roles and responsibility. But on a scale of 1 to 10, what did you actually do on a daily basis? Like for now, I need everybody to sit down and pause to say, what roles have you had? Paid or unpaid? Church work, random work, voluntary work, NGO work. What did the role actually demand of you? What parts of your brain did it pick? Did you automate anything? Did you use Excel? Did you problem solve? Did you analyze? And when we use verbs on our CVs, those verbs make sense. That is actually what we're doing. Recorded, described, analyzed. That's actually your transferable skill. So, however, you start your verb utilization, that's your transferable skill right there. And if we look at it and we check 2 to 4 different jobs on our CV, 95% of us have maintained. Did you maintain in your first job and you maintained in your second job? There's something business analysis there, there's something record keeping there. And that is literally how I need us to look at our transferable skills. Thank you.
Awesome. I think I'm muted. Okay, no, I'm not muted. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm still going to take you back and break down everything you have explained so far. But one thing I was taking notes while you were speaking is, even though you started, this is for people that already started like their career in a specific path. Say you are a doctor, say you are in the finance space, say you studied biochemistry, about microbiology in school, and you're like, this is what I studied. Can I work in tech? I think Chiamaka already mentioned that, yes, she started this way, but she started asking herself some very important question, like, what else can I do? How can I use what I have currently, what I'm currently doing in another space, because I believe that this space actually needs what I have. So this is like one kind of call out that you can use to actually identify your transferable skills, and also to mention that you don't need to have a clear career path in order to like have transferable skills that you can use in another job role. For example, to share my own part of the story, um in fact, if I am to go very deep into the story part, it's going to be take a lot of our time. But what I want you to understand is, like, growing up, even after high school, which is college back home, there are some things I do. Don't let us talk about academics, because I will still go into the academics part. Being the first child, having siblings to like take care of, that sense of ownership, that sense of responsibility, even though it's not good sometimes, actually is kind of like a skills that I carry, knowing that, oh, you can actually do this thing. You have to do this thing for like people that are behind you, or you have to be like a result driven person. So that is one skills that I actually carried growing up. And after secondary school, because I waited like 5 years before I got into uni. The way Nigeria is. And during this period, I was doing some petty jobs that people would think it doesn't even matter. And this job includes, customer service. I was running my own business. I started my own business. I think I shared on LinkedIn sometimes ago that I've been in the business space for like over 2 decades. So what I'm trying to say is, there are little skills that you gain from that job that you see as nothing, that can actually build you. In my own case, I was doing customer support. I was supporting, like, selling, marketing goods to people, selling those goods. I have to like convince people to buy those goods. And these are skills that I actually picked even before I went to uni. And I went to uni, I studied computer science. Just like Chiamaka mentioned, you don't need to have a tech background to actually be in tech. Whatever you studied in school, if you want to still go, like, this is changing parts now, which I'm going to still ask her more about. if you whatever you studied or whatever your background is, if you identify that you want to go into this space, and that is why we are having this session, you can still ask yourself that the background that I have, what are the skills that I can carry, alongside from there into what I have, what I'm going into right now. So for me, it wasn't really like a clear, a straight path. Even though I knew I was identifying subconsciously, I was identifying the skills that I could, like I'm picking skills like, customer support, marketing. Even as a computer science student, I knew I didn't want to be, the type of computer science student or graduate that is probably going to be coding, even though I had the skills. I had the programming skills. I knew I didn't want to do that. I knew I want to talk to people. I knew I want to support people because these are skills that I have gathered or I'm used to right from the beginning. So it's subconsciously entered my brain. And even as a computer science student, I always say something about, I just want to go into the marketing space. But I was still building my technical skills. I didn't say, oh, because I want to go into the marketing space. Chiamaka, are you speaking? Okay, no.
No.
So I didn't say because I want to go into the marketing space, now abandon my technical skills. I was still gathering those skills at like the technical side of things. So one thing again, I mentioned the fact that before I went to uni, I had some skills from like the petty jobs I was doing. In uni, I learned some technical skills from the computer science side of things. And after uni, one other thing that helped me really well is volunteering. I'm going to be talking about that later after Chiamaka. Chiamaka mentioned something about, you can get skills from anywhere. It can be from your church. Say for example, are you volunteering? That is where volunteering like comes in, right? But for you, it might be communication skills, which we are going to be highlighting like some of these transferable skills so that you can know that are you like so that you can know that these are the skills that you've actually gathered, you have it, right? So communication, I talked about supporting people, and those were like simple instances for me to know that okay, I have these skills, I can actually use it. Even when I got the volunteering opportunity, I got the volunteering opportunity as a social media manager, and I knew I love to support even my friends that had small business. I love to like tell them this content that you put out is not selling this market very well. So I like to just advise them, manage their page. And when I got the volunteering opportunities, I was ready to like use those skills, those unofficial skills to me then, just implement it. And that was how my career as a digital marketer, being a social media manager, actually started. And also to talk about how I got into community management. Trust me, it was still on the same volunteering opportunity. So that is to tell you that even through volunteering, you can gain a lot of other skills. And back to Shamaka, you've actually summarized your whole career, but I want us to like break it down. I want us to break it down. So I want us to explain some moments, like just pick one or two. We are still going to go back. You've shared your story, but let's pick one or two moments where you realize that you had a skills from a particular role or even from school, and you would need it to apply it in a different way somewhere else.
Feel like I have a lot, so I have to think
That's why I
on.
think you should pick one or two because I'm still going to take you back.
Okay, so just from school, yeah.
Because we have like students who are going to be
Okay.
joining us. So let's talk about the school part, because I'm always advocating for, if you're a student, you are learning. Don't you know that you are learning? You can use the skills right now to do. So let's start from being a student.
I would actually say stakeholder management as a student. So, as a student, right, I had a lot of, let's use my master's for example. Being an adult, and when I mean adult, you have working experience and you've become a bit more grown. And doing your master's at that time is a bit more tricky compared to those that just come out of school. And I would explain. When I was doing my master's, I had moms that had four kids, two kids, and they were still doing their masters. And that becomes a bit more complicated when you're trying to do schoolwork, or you have dads that have wives that are pregnant, and you actually have to understand and be a bit more empathetic when you're in such a dynamic group. That's the same thing that happens in a work environment. Someone at work is probably struggling at home, and someone at work probably has children and they are still showing up at work. Your coworker might just have so many family activities going on at the same time and they are trying to show up. Stakeholder management is the ability to still deliver while actually caring and understanding that human beings are dynamic and you cannot get everyone to pretty much deliver at the same pedestal that you want them to deliver at, but you still want to get a good job done. So for my group assignment in school, back when I was doing my masters, I had that dynamics and I had people that were working different shifts at different hours. So trying to hop on a meeting to try to get our group work done was almost impossible. And we have deadlines. Now, how do you do that? You need to first of all understand people's strengths and weaknesses, those that can work under pressure in the team, those that need a bit more flexible time, but you still need them to deliver because the goal is we all came here for a purpose, right? We decided to come for our masters and we know that we have to deliver. And for younger students, it's even a bit more frustrating because they feel like, oh, this person is older. And then how do I say, again, I would always say the work is the work. Whatever you have to do to get the work done, you have to do it. And at that point, I realized I then had to be the one to say, okay, you know what? This is the split. For the people that had kids, you had a bit more time, and which is why you then understand adequate planning and then start your assignment a bit earlier so that you can give those people grace. And that applies at the workplace too, because I then had people at work that had kids and the same dynamics, and I'm working with them on teams and we want to schedule meetings, and it's almost impossible. You have to understand that stakeholder management is a transferable skill, and as little as managing people in teams for group assignments is the same thing you would do at work. The same manner at which you are a good communicator or a bad communicator would reflect in your workplace. So, however, you handle it when you're a student is the same way you would handle it as a grown up and as a working class person. And I would like to say something. The workplace is very dynamic. You also have to even understand that there's a bit more politics to play sometimes. There are different people from different cultures and race, and your group work in school sometimes even has the same culture and race. So you then have to start understanding different languages, not in terms of speaking the language, but tiny things as how are you is not the same thing. Same way in the UK, we say you're all right. When I first came and someone was telling me that, I was wondering what's going on. Yeah. And am I meant to give you a response? So tiny details like that on then learning how they communicate and what will make them happier. I would not go to work, for example, and say, how are you? It's actually you okay. That way the person feels a bit more comfortable with you and then you can get the best out of that person. So stakeholder management is one skill that I would say I actually realized I needed both as a student and at the beginning of my career, and I still very much need it now because you have so many people to manage and you need to always be a people manager and a people person, not a people person in a bad way, but a very good and diplomatic people person.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love how we have, moved into identify the specific skills. I'm going to go into mine as well. Feel free to add at any point. As a community manager who has been in the space for over 6 years, I can say being in the community management space has actually made me a strategic leader in the sense that I didn't just also manage community on this role. I've done community management across NGO, fintech, and some other organization sector like that. I learned people management, just like Chiamaka have said. Yes, I know I'm a people person. I know that is what my role entails. But learning how to manage people has actually strengthened me being a leader. Not just that, I've actually developed different engagement system. See the way I'm highlighting those those skills that they might probably not even write in your job description. And managing system has also helped me to gain skills that I can call operations, or I can call program management. Or I remember when I was working as a communication and media officer for like a legal firm, I was so intentional about collaborating with the program management team. This is not part of my job description, but because I'm a very curious person, I want to know how it works. I want to understand, the skills they are using, and just how I can collaborate with them. Collaboration again. So unintentionally, I learned how to submit grant application. That was where I started learning it. So I was opportune to like submit different grants application during that role, and this application came back successful. I was leading the project, going to different cities to hosting events. So, and I was a media and communication officer who now on the same role, being a communication officer, has learned how to write grant application, has learned how to manage programs. In fact, I was doing M&E at some point because I'm managing the program. I need to monitor it. I need to evaluate it and be sure that we're actually meeting the goals by which that we wanted to achieve. And very important as well, emotional intelligence. As someone that manage people, you want to communicate or answer someone in this way, but because you are dealing with diverse sets of people, you want to pass a message in a way that this person understand and this person doesn't take an offense in it. So emotional intelligence is another skills that I learned on the job, but as well, this has helped me to gain not just leadership. I'm specifically talking about leadership and see the way I am dividing the leadership side of things. I'm talking about partnership. I'm talking about building brand or community strategies. So all these things that I've highlighted are actually, even though I am in the community management space, these are roles, these are skills that I have identified on this role. And imagine there is an operation manager role. Omotola can apply and do very well. There's a community programs management role. I can do it and do very well. You're talking about stakeholder management, just like Chiaka Amaka mentioned. I can do it and I will excel very well. Partnership management, I can do that and I'm going to excel very well. And when it comes to global collaboration, I'm going to talk about working remotely. Chiamaka also work remotely. I'm going to be talking about how working remotely, how like some skills can actually come from someone that works remotely as well. We are going to be identify that. But what I'm trying to say is working with global organization as well has actually helped me to identify very huge skills that on a non it's not written in the job description that I was employed for. But because you are very intentional, let's go back to Chiamaka's word, you are very intentional about looking at where you are right now and think about what can I do perfectly, or what am I currently doing that I can move to another job or that is needed in another job. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone. If it does make sense, please drop in the comments that it does make sense. Okay, so let's go back to Chebaka. You've talked about how you identified transferable skills, working with your co-students when you were in school. So let's talk about the skills that you've identified. How did you test them? How did you know that being stakeholder? So I want you to not just give a general perspective, but your own role, your pathway so far. So how do you use these skills that you've identified? How do you like test them or say use them in your current role or previous roles?
Okay, so not to be very technical,
Okay.
but so for example, right, analysis in KPMG, I had to do a lot of analysis, both on financial analysis, different types of clients. And when I moved to ARM, because it was corporate strategy and it wasn't as granular as I would say consulting is, because for the difference is for KPMG, you're doing it for external people. For ARM, we were doing it for the company internally. So it was just to make sure that the subsidiaries are happy, the staffs are happy, and it was pretty much like a mini branch of HR, but in terms of the strategic objectives. Now, I realized that at KPMG, the goal was to sort of always have KPIs that at the end of every tax, I can say, this is what we achieved, and this is the target, and these are the things we need to put in place to achieve those KPIs, as to excel at them. For corporate strategy, it was the same, because to have a good workforce, we needed to put some things in place to ensure that staffs were happy, right? It was the same skill set and analysis to say, oh, these are the amount of leavers in this time. These are the amount of people that have been recruited. This is the subsidiary that has gaps, and this is the subsidiary that seems like more money comes from, and this is the subsidiary that has less liquidity. So how do we do this analysis to make sure that we are able to solve this problem? So it's literally consulting, but you're then consulting internally, and you're trying to find the loopholes, and again turn the messy situation into strategic information for leaders to have. And then going back to analysis, any analysis, financial, monetary, anything, people analysis, is data analysis. Most people fail to realize that they are data analysts at their job. We are all collating Excel sheets, 95% of us. We are all record keeping. We are literally all trying to manage accurate records. And I then realized that the data analysis that I also did at KPMG was very relevant in S-Swift. And the only difference was I was then doing it on a bigger scale at a more senior level, because and in a different country. Now, the difference is, for example, in the UK and in Treasury, we use systems called TMS, Treasury Management Systems. That is where all our informations go. But in Nigeria, because I was a portfolio manager, I was using a PMS. That's a portfolio management system. It does the absolute same thing. The difference is, for the PMS, I was having to look at it in terms of what client has what number of stocks, what client has what number of shares, what is their investment. But for PMS, I'm saying, rather for TMS in Treasury, I am saying, how many clients do we have to pay? Where did the money come from? It's literally the same thing happening in two different worlds. So I remember when I was on my interview for S-Swift, and then they said, have you used the TMS before? And I'm wondering, I was never in Treasury, so TMS, sorry. And I'm like, oh, I haven't used a TMS, but I have used a couple of PMS. And these are the PMS I have used. And then he goes, oh, run me through how your PMS works. What modules did you have on them? And I go, financial modeling, cash flow forecasting, short-term forecasting. And he goes, okay, you seem to be the only one in the team, if we hire you, that has used a TMS. So you can be the project manager for the TMS project. And I'm like, oh, really? My Nigerian skill set was very useful here. Thank you very much. Because I wouldn't have guessed. It was the same thing in just different words. And then they go again, the same thing. Were you part of the team that sort of tested that process? Can you do like a user acceptance testing phase, the UAT phase, the acceptance criteria? And I was like, to be fair, I remember at ARM, I went through the ghetto trying to say, oh, today we are using this data set. And then at the end of the day, we're like, oh, this migration issue. Apparently, those were learning curves, because we at ARM, I was actually there when we had migrated from one system to another. So I knew things to look out for. I knew what the pain points were. I know what you need to do and not to do if you're trying to get like a TMS provider. So all I needed to say was, oh yeah, if you have to get a TMS, or when we're getting a TMS, we need to make sure this person does this and this person doesn't do that. And we need to look out for this. We need to streamline this. We need to have a standard of procedure. And it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. Also for finance, KYC is KYC everywhere. The difference is someone might just have a longer KYC. If you have done KYC, which again is documentation in this case for people that are not finance on watching this video, I'm very sure all of us have done a KYC to either open a bank account or anything. And KYC is know your customer. And what's your name, your date of birth, your this, your that. Now for banks, they're asking you in terms of where's your company located? What are you going to be using this bank account to do? It's the same thing. And I had done KYC in Nigeria a couple of times during my role across ARM, my United Capital. And the first time I got to Swift and someone gave me KYC document to fill, I wasn't lost because I could understand the basics of that document. The difference is, oh, this is quite US kind of KYC. So I need explanation or like just one or two dotted lines that is different from what I've done. But these are transferable skills, and those were ways I saw that my my career's trajectory wasn't totally useless when I was trying to get a job in the UK. And again, as someone that got into treasury in the UK, if you had asked me 2 years ago if I thought I would be a treasurer, I would have said no. Oh, I was going to be a portfolio manager, an asset manager. But I had applied to asset management for a while in the UK and it wasn't coming. And then I looked at my CV again and I said, you know what? What am I good at? What do I know? If I read a job description for a job I think I like, what's common? What was repeating itself across board? What skill set are they looking for? And then I realized, okay, it seems like the equivalent of portfolio management in the UK is treasury because they are doing the same thing. In fact, as a
Just different
treasurer,
terms.
yeah, and in fact, as a treasurer that has asset management background, it's funny because when most treasurers grow up or learn, have their careers just doing the corporate treasury side of things, trying to get the clients, maybe do a bit of investment. Because to be fair, treasury across different places are different. But I then realized that because of the way my career had grown, I understood strategic leadership. I could consult. I'm heading projects in treasury. That's consulting. And that's strategy. That's my strategy career playing out. I understand how to hedge and how to make the company money grow. That's my stocks and United Capital analysis coming to play.
Hmm.
And when I started to look at my career from that lens, I actually say that there's nothing I cannot do. In fact, if you throw me into business analysis, I can be a business analyst because what's the core of business analysis? Looking for problems and creating solutions and getting a stakeholder to solve that solution. Have I done that? Yes. I even now say that I think that my long-term career plan is either consulting or business analysis in finance. Because if you want to do that in finance, you need to understand systems. Can I do that? Yeah. I need to understand transformation. Can I do that? Yeah. Do I understand the fundamentals of treasury? Yes. Do I know how to optimize processes? Yes. I'm as fluid can be.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And there's something you said I'm going to just rephrase. So I know we are talking about transferable skills, but people need to also understand that there's something called transferable advantage. It is a skill, but you have the advantage because just like Chiamaka explained, you've done something. It is not called the same thing in another part, but it is the same thing that you have done. And I know Chiamaka is still going to, she'll also talk about the job description part, the CV part. I know she's still going to like talk about that, but you should understand the transferable advantage that you have. It might be intellectual curiosity. If you're someone like me that wants to know why this thing happened, why is it not like this, why is this thing, that might be your transferable skills. If you are the type of person that just wants to think strategically, if you are the type of person that adapts easily, or you are the type of person that has growth mindset, those are your transferable advantage. And also to also mention that sometimes, because I understand that everybody might not have like the pathway that we've been talking about, might still be trying to, figure things out, trying to still build like a path for themselves at all, you understand? But you see, that's you trying to figure things out, that's you evolving, that's you being resilient about what's innovation or the fact that you want to invent your own career. That's you pivoting from being a designer to say, oh, I want to be a UI UX designer. Or that's you that studied microbiology in school. I say, oh, I want to go into research. Or you even find data science fascinating and you're like, okay, we're talking about data. I actually love to do that. So that's you rebuilding your career, that's you learning publicly. That is your transferable, that can be your transferable advantage. You should note that. Okay, so let's talk about I'm going to be talking more about visibility at work, strategic communication. So I will let Chiamaka take the other part of how you can use. Now we've been talking about like some transferable skills, transferable advantage. We've shared our own story. Chiamaka shared a lot of story. But now I know I have done a little bit of design work. I know I've done finance. I know I've done portfolio management. I know I'm a social media manager. No, I know I'm a doctor. No, I am someone that studied project management, or I'm someone that has volunteered in my church. And I have, from our conversation, have identified some things that, or maybe you have not identified. Chiamaka will help us. But I guess you have identified some things that we've been talking about since, transferable skills and transferable knowledge. So let's talk about how you can use that without fear, right? How you can use that or identify that when you're applying for your next opportunity, say job. So because I've studied, I'm a project manager. I was telling someone recently that you are looking for a manager role, but you should not limit yourself with the word project manager. You can actually get engagement officer, engagement manager. You can get like a lot of operations manager. You can get a lot of other skills like that. So I'm going to allow Chiamaka to talk more on that part because I know you have expertise like helping people, empowering people in that aspect as well. How they can, think beyond that job or that path that they are coming from, and just think beyond it and identify some other opportunities using all the things we've been talking about since, looking at that job description and identify and building the confidence that yes, I'm actually qualified for this job. So over to you.
Okay, so for visibility, right, I would say it is going through several job descriptions and trying to see what is common across, and also understanding the market you are in. Like I mentioned when I spoke earlier, I said I had to realize that the equivalent of asset management in the UK is treasury. And that took a while because I just kept applying for asset management and it seemed like it was only in London. And I knew that I wasn't really ready to go to London. And I wanted to find something similar in Manchester. So what I then had to do was actually Google. Google is your best friend, and say, what are the skill what are the skill sets and what other roles can I apply for with this skill set that I have? Or give me 10 jobs or 15 job titles that are very similar to asset management. And I started seeing things like liquidity management, cash management, a short-term forecast analyst. Apparently, it was picking the responsibilities and adding analysts to them. So in the UK, it's very granular, apparently. In Nigeria, we just had one box for everybody. In the UK, nobody really says portfolio manager. So if I kept looking for portfolio manager,
I know you get the job at all.
I was just going to be looking for a long time because sometimes even the portfolio management, they're just investment analysts or they're just data financial analysts or finance analysts. Like it was just different names. So the ability to also research and say, these are my skill sets. In fact, like I always preach, AI is your friend if you can use it. Sometimes randomly throw your CV in there and say, this is my skill set, suggest jobs that are in line with this skill set, and you'll be shocked because even project manager can become something about product analysis,
Yes.
and sometimes can be even a typical business analyst can be product placement, product replacement. I think I was very shocked when I
All
saw
of this
something
that can come
about,
out of it.
yeah. I remember when I even started trying to look for jobs in data analysis and I saw customer insights.
And
And I
you're
was like,
like, what
customer
is this?
insights. And apparently it is just the ability to think outside the box to say, at the core of it, what is this job delivering?
Like, just ask yourself,
Yes,
what am
it's
I
just
performing?
delivering insights. So
Mm-hmm.
find things that relate to insight. It's so that's how to look at it. You need to first of all do a research to say, where am I? What are the core skills required in this country, in this location, at this point that I am in? What are the equivalent skill sets to what I currently have? It's the same way even for professional exams. Someone that writes ICANN or that has ICANN in Nigeria has a lot of exemptions or papers that they don't need to write in SCC. They are related. The core is understanding your accounting principles, right? So if even professional exams have interrelationships, why would career not have interrelationships? So the ability to actually just research, understand what the interrelationships are, and sometimes, weirdly, even the keywords are job titles here. Maintenance officer, maintenance analyst. What are you maintaining? But
Also, I really like the way you are highlighting it. And it's not just about UK alone. I think people need to start. You are looking for global opportunities. You are a social media manager. You can be a content creator. You can be an editor. You can be a communication manager. You can be anything. Think about like your job, the job that they gave you. Think about it. Think about the tasks that they asked you to do. Talk to ChatGPT. Talk to any AI tool that you use. This is what I do in my day-to-day tasks, or this is what I'm learning in school, and ask what job can I apply to. Back to you, Chiamaka.
do I have another question?
So, um, um, I think you've mentioned something about the job description, how people can like highlight it. Um, you've worked in person and you are actually working remotely, or let's say hybrid as well. For me as well, have worked remotely, I've worked in person. And I think there was a time you were talking, you said something about cultural differences. I would talk about time zone. Like, I work with people in the US, I've worked with people in Canada. Which time zone is like different from my own? You know, the ability to be able to work across, like, with people from this different time zone is actually a skills that I built, and it shows that I can, communicate asynchronously with my team and still make my impact. I can, collaborate with people, cross-functional team, and I can still make impact. The fact that I have worked with organizers of programs, I have worked managing programs, all while doing this remotely, shows, and I've been making impact, shows that I can actually coordinate operational coordination. I've learned that, and I can also use that. So these things that we've mentioned are, let me say, global skills. So let's talk about your own experience working in person in the office and also remotely. What are some skills that you can highlight that you have learned that are transferable?
Okay, so just like you mentioned, my office actually operates across 60 countries. So the time zone is insane. It's very wide. And I also have to work across different cultures. So I think the first thing I would say is, weirdly, accuracy.
Hmm.
Now, accuracy matters in very tiny details. Just in, for example, name pronunciation. Some people take name pronunciation to heart, and the way you pronounce their name on your first day, they will decide if they are your friends or not. Literally. And it's so funny, yet it's actually the reality of things. And I try to make the effort to be as accurate as possible in how I pronounce your name, because I can also tell that they struggle with the pronunciation of Chiamaka. So I remember when I had said my name is Chiamaka, and my boss goes, Can I say chi?
Confidence.
And I'm like, yeah, you can, but can you like try again? Like Chi Amaka. And then he actually tries, and oh my god, now he's so excited to tell anybody my full name. In fact, randomly, he decided that he randomly looked at my name and surname and figured that Chi is the beginning of my first name and Chi is the end of my last name. And then
Wow.
he goes, oh, I just realized that you are Chi Chi. And I'm like, okay, that is effort and it is accuracy, and that's also nostalgic, and that's how you sort of build friendships, and then communication is better. So now we even moved from accuracy into communication skills into friendship at work, because that makes your life easier across time zones, across whatever. And he then put a rule to say only me gets to call you Chichi. When we're introducing you to external clients, you're Chiamaka. When they become your friends a bit, you're Chi. And he's so proud that he was able to figure that out himself. And again, just accuracy in the tiny details of people's name, where they come from, makes remote work easier, because sometimes you can't even see these people to see what their facial expression is at the other end of the table. So they might have just been having a bad day and then you pronounce their name wrongly and it doesn't hit normally, but that day it's just like you can just make the effort. It's not that hard. And that is very important, both in person and also remote. Another thing I would say is planning, consistency, and putting yourself in check. Working from home, it is very easy to be frying dodo
Plantain. That's plantain.
while
For
you're
people who don't understand the
while
language.
you're meant to be on a meeting, or while you're in a meeting, you will just mute yourself and you'll be hearing from oil. And next thing they say, can you hear me? Oh, yes, I can. Can we just focus on the work that we're meant to do? Because sometimes those things start to add up in the amount of hours that you have just left your decks and you haven't done anything. And that can just affect work relationship. Also, our parents did not lie when they said be your brother's keeper. At
Elaboration.
work, we try to separate work and friendship, which I understand and which we all do, draw the boundary lines. But the ability to cover for someone at work when they just need a helping hand goes a very long way. And it is very important. Sometimes I have to say, oh, I need to step out for 20 minutes. Can you cover me? And because the person remembers that when they asked me for 20 minutes, it wasn't convenient, but I did it. Because again, it's relationship building. And at work, the work culture is really, and it's not a spoken rule, but it is rub my back and I rub your back. Make my life easier and I make your life easier. And that's a skill set that is very important to work remotely and in person. Ability to cover for someone. Also, communication. Because you
Hmm.
are home and you have access to not be online or step out. If I'm going to go for an appointment and it's going to take 30 minutes, I'm going to say, please, I need to step out for 30 minutes. I'll let you know when I'm back. And there's a group chat to say, hi guys, I'm back. Or hi guys, I'm stuck in traffic. Like, it makes everybody feel like they are a part of your work world. Sometimes as well, compromise. There are days, because of time zones, I work 9 to 5, but Singapore, Malaysia is probably trying to work. They are working when I'm sleeping. So at 12 midnight, they are very active. And I've had times where I was watching a movie at 12 o'clock and I really don't want to see my teams pop up. But fortunately, unfortunately, I got a message and I've had to look through. And again, work-life balance is important, but sometimes there's some tiny sacrifices that you make that saves you a lot of trouble in the morning, especially with finance and with cash and with money. 1 hour can make or mar your cash position. Like, you have to just have that conscience and ability to try to multitask. And God bless us, we're in good work environments. Because if I say I was awake at 12 o'clock trying to help Singapore, my boss is probably going to say, you know what, close early by 3. And sometimes you don't just get there on the first day. On the first day, when you do that, they might probably not say close at 3. And some of us just give up on that first day and say, you know what, I woke up at 8. It wasn't my time. I shouldn't have done it. But sometimes tiny efforts like that to cover people up builds favors for you in front that you don't see coming. And those combination of different activities, communication, consistency, putting yourself in check, planning, then makes it easier for people to speak in rooms for you when you are not there. Or when I needed help, Chamaka was there. Oh, even though we're working from home, she's available. And there was something I realized over time working with my boss. Apparently, if I'm not online at 9:30, he goes into panic mode because the latest I will be online is maybe 9:10. And I start getting messages like, are you okay? Are you fine? Because that also helps people drop patterns for you to say, she typically is available by this time at this hour. And if she's not on at this time, something is wrong. And let's check up on her and things like that. So working remotely, the same way you would go to the office, sit at your desk 9 to 5, it's the same dynamics. And sometimes I even think that working remotely requires a bit more effort because it's
You
very
tend to work too much than
yeah,
people.
yeah. You
Yeah.
tend to work too much, and it's very easy to be less empathetic. You have to sometimes take a step back to say, I've actually not seen this person hasn't turned on their camera for a while. Sometimes people don't like to turn on their camera, but a little just checking you are okay. Because if you see them physically, you can assess by looking at them to say, oh, she looks all right or she doesn't. But just that little check-in sometimes helps also because working remotely, you don't know who you're talking to at the other end sometimes, what they look like, and you just have to put in more effort to get the work done and also work across different time zones. I would also say flexibility is key, and I would not flog on that too much because it's similar to what I've mentioned on being considerate and just being available and compromise as well. And yeah, that
As
is it.
someone, I totally agree with everything you said, but someone, I'm going to disagree and agree. As someone who tends to overwork and is just learning work-life balance,
Mhm.
like I've been very intentional about it lately. I just wanted to add this part so that people can pick the one that is there. There was a time in my career that I have to, do all this. I have to do it and do it and do it over again. Showing up for other. I still do it. Don't get me wrong. Not like I don't do it, but we should also put it out there that you should know when to say no. You should know when to stop. You should know when to put your laptop away and actually get that rest.
Yeah.
You should know when to. Don't go and wake up 12 a.m. because you now saw a message and start responding to the message because you're trying to gain transferable skills. No. So, but it is very important, even though, just like I mentioned, there was a time I have done that, and that has helped me to build my career. I'm going to be sharing some link in the chat of how I started volunteering, and that was like a foundation to how my career actually went up. And difference, I think I also have a video on just talking about my career in general, coming into tech. If you have not subscribed to this YouTube channel, please do so and just check. I'm going to share the link today. I'm going to share the link in this video, but please watch the video and gain that. Most importantly, as Chiamaka mentioned, if you're going to be doing everything she mentioned, which is actually very important that you should do while maintaining work-life balance, it is also important for you to tell your story. So if you do everything that we've mentioned and you did not tell your story, in fact, you work in some organization or in some space, and nobody is going to talk about how you cover up for the other person. I've experienced it. And nobody is going to, in fact, other people will take your glory. You plan an event or you plan like an initiative and you will see other people talking about it. So it is very important for you while you are trying to show up, while you are trying to, cover up for people, while you are trying to be that good person in your own space, in your own career, it is very important for you to be your number one cheerleader. That I love to say that. Like, report like what you've worked on, what you are currently working on, give updates and share it in the necessary channel. Let the necessary people get to know what you have done or what you are doing or what you are planning to do, so that in the sense that if you're supposed to apply for promotion or you are supposed to, just get your accolades, it won't be hard for you to actually reference what you have done. Because when I say build in public, I'm a very big advocate of building public. And I'm not talking about even sharing on your social media platforms. In your space, office space, if you work in the office, there's a way that they have meetings, there's a way you do reports. I think on one of my roles, I started writing monthly reports. Nobody asked me to, but because I just wanted to document like my experience, I want to document what I'm able to achieve in that month. I started talking about it. I'll write the report every month. Nobody asked me to do it. I'll do it. And like 1 year, 2 years after, and I wanted to like sum up like the impact I've made in the organization, it was easier for me to just pull it out. And that is where building in public also comes in. If what you are doing, the impact you are making is one that you can share, even if it's not one you can share, there's a way you can not share data that is for the organization, but you can still talk about your impact. So I wrote it in my note here: document. It is very important. I learned documentation while I'm just trying to do everything Shiamaka mentioned. I learned documentation, and documentation is a transferable skills. If you know how to report very well, that's a very big transferable skills that can help you to land your next career. Tell your story. That is a very, if you can tell your story very well, that's a very good transferable skills as well. Storytelling. We all know that storytelling is selling right now. Positioning as well, that is another thing that is very good. Attention to details is also very good. Is another transferable skills. We are top of the hour, so I want us to like wrap up. So the last question I'm going to be asking Chiamaka is: if someone, what will you tell someone that is probably just starting out or wanting to change their career or wanting to like change their career path or still looking for a job, and they have several experience, and just like you, that you have portfolio management experience in the past, they've check, and that job is not out there, what would you tell them? Someone that is just starting out, though, someone that is just about to like reinvent themselves, what would you tell them?
First of all, I'll say open your mouth. And let me explain.
I've opened my mouth because that was like
Say what you are looking for to the right people. And why that was top on my list was that was how I got my job. Someone said, "Oh, I remember that you said this is your experience." And I got this job DM on LinkedIn. And I think you are the perfect fit for it.
hmm,
Again, if nobody knew what I had done or what I used to do, I would not get a referral. Referrals don't fall from the sky. So open your mouth. And it's the same way with what Omotola had said earlier. Document and put your journey in the right place. Again, visibility is key, which is my number two. I would say talk about the most basic things that you have done in a very beautiful way. Storytelling is key. I started a challenge for myself this year, and it is to write on LinkedIn every Tuesday. And I have been doing that consistently. I am sure at the end of the year, I probably would have over 200 posts. And I still get DMs on LinkedIn for treasury roles just because if you connect the dots on my LinkedIn, you can tell what I do and you can tell why I might be a best fit for the job that you want to hire for. The third one I would say is get your CV again, look through it, identify your gaps, and compare it to what the market is saying. Some of us are still using our CV from 2002 to apply for a job in 2026. The world has changed. Evolve with it. Some people are very adverse to change, and that is why sometimes they struggle to get jobs. Not that the job market is hard, and I would admit that it is hard, but sometimes evolve. As little as sometimes a hiring manager is comparing two CVs, they see coding in one and they don't see in one. The other person has the exact same skill you have, but they are looking long term and they say, "Ah, we might need a coder sometime. Oh. If this person can already do both, that's my hire." Or I understand AI. Some companies are heavily even driving the use of AI because they want automation. Understand how these tech things apply in the role you are trying to get and evolve with it. And I would say keep trying, apply for similar roles. Sometimes we also get very focused on one that we lose a lot of opportunities because we keep trying to go one way. Sometimes I have realized that life is sometimes very zigzag, and it is okay to go through that and figure it out on the way. It doesn't have to be perfect. So wiggle your way through it and see where it lands. Some of the people that have the best careers sometimes did not think that that is what they would be doing. I didn't ever think I was going to be a portfolio manager. I went for corporate strategy and there was an opening after my NYS. Yeah, after the internship I did, and it was for portfolio management. I was out of school. I'd already finished my internship and I said, what's the harm in trying? What's the worst that will happen? Actually, what's the worst that would happen? I put my head there and I realize I don't like it and I come out of it.
Hmm.
And that is sometimes what it is, like trial and error. Sometimes we like to say there's no time, there's never enough time. So the time is not lost because there would still be value at the end of the day, unless you genuinely did not try to get value out of it. And volunteer as much as possible. Volunteering is very underrated, but volunteer, and it is it is what it's at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love the way you handled it. I really love it. For our online viewers, thank you so much for joining us so far. I hope you've learned one or two things. If you have, you can please summarize it in the chat. Just drop what you've learned as well. And if you are watching this video later after the live stream has ended, please also share in the comment section what you have learned so far. And if you have any question as well, you can drop it in the comments. Trust us, we are going to respond to it. We have been talking about identifying and leveraging your transferable skills. The skills that you come on, these skills, the tasks that you do that you think they are just simple tasks, it has a lot of power that can help you to not only enhance but help you to even land or be in that bigger space that you imagine. And from that space that you have now, either you are schooling, either you are interning, either you are volunteering, or you have your career figured out, but you want, you aim higher to even get into another space. You already have what it takes right now to get into that space. You already have skills like communication, being curious is a skills, collaborating with people is a skills, being able to identify or wanting to evolve is a skill, being able to work with people across different sector or time zone is a skill. And regardless of where your career, because I know this is Chamaka has also mentioned it, this is a mistake most people make. She came from the portfolio management side of things and now she's doing something different. I studied computer science. Anybody could have thought, oh, Amotola is going to be a developer, but now I'm managing programs, I'm managing people, I'm managing community. So even if you studied things like biochemistry, you studied whatever you studied, even if you're a doctor or you're a nurse and you're interested in going into another space. You can talk about what you've learned. Chiamaka explained how she was thinking about, okay, this thing is what I'm doing now. How can it go into, how can I use the same skills, do the same tasks that I'm doing now, but in tech? And now she's a finance tech babe, as you can see. And she's a superstar. I love to call her superstar. And that is also to tell you that, and I, for example, as well, I've been able to make and turn every opportunity that I've been part of, including volunteering. I've shared the link in the comments about how, like, the untold truth about volunteering. You need to watch like all the videos I shared there. Like, just come down and I shared a lot of insights about how volunteering actually helped me to become the Omotala that everybody know. But that's not just like I just started like that. I also had like skills that I used in volunteering because I was making impact while also learning. So that is to tell you that those things you need to sit down now. I have like a pull question. I hope I'm still able to like share it. Sit down now, think about what you are currently doing, how you are doing it, then think about what you want to do, and talk to someone about it. Talk to someone that has knowledge about it, and identify how you can transfer what you already have into it. Chiamaka also mentioned that when you are looking for a job, yes, you have done portfolio management, but that doesn't mean you should go on LinkedIn or any job platform and start looking for portfolio management. There are other things that you can do outside of portfolio management while still making impact. So that task that you are doing, that breakdown task that they have given you in your full-time job or your volunteering opportunity, just pick the keywords and look for the roles that you can, that aligns better with it. And if you have any question, you want to talk to someone, aside from the fact that you can drop it in the chat, there's a QR code showing on the screen now. You can scan it and reach out to us to unlock more career opportunities or conversations like this. We're happy to help you. Either you're preparing for your job interview, either you just want to talk about your career and just get more clarity, or you want to stay visible online. Chiamaka mentioned how visibility is very important, or you have any other question about, just growing your career as an individual. So please scan that QR code and we'll be expecting you. Thank you so much, Chiamaka, for joining us today. I really appreciate. I know if I allow you to continue, I know you're trying to like hold up and say, don't let me waste too much time. Okay, don't let me waste too much time. It's really an honor to have you here. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you so much for, and I'm rooting for you. The visibility challenge that you said you are on, I'm really rooting for you. And I also wanted to mention for people that are listening, she said she started a challenge this year of just sharing like what she's doing because you're already doing it. I know most people struggle with this. You are doing it. So why are you not sharing it? Like, share it. You don't need to share your company's data. There's a way you can reformat it and not share sensitive data, but share it. And not just don't just share this. This is what I love to say. Engage with other people in your field as well. She mentioned how people reach out to her on LinkedIn because they thought she's the best person for that job. Engage with people, let them be curious to say, who is this person? Go to your profile and read more. And when they read more, they are seeing what you're posting. I've gotten a lot of opportunities by just sharing what I know and empowering people at the same time. I'm really rooting for everybody, and I hope you are not only able to like figure out your career, you are able to like identify and leverage the skills that you have now to get even more better opportunities. Thank you so much for joining us today. And Chiamaka, any last word for you before I just end the live stream?
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope that this session has been very insightful for everybody.
Thank you
Thank
so much. Thank you so much, everyone. See you some other time. Bye.
you. Bye.